Welcome, please join us to watch this 2017 Sidecar Motocross World Championship Roundup. This was a tough year in every respect, with 4 rounds and 28 races crammed into a 6-month period. We're going to give you a blow-by-blow look as the season unfolded. It all kicked off in April in Alderbrook, Holland. And drama came right away in the very first start of the 2017 season. This happened in the first qualifier, in which local favourite Julian Veldman started off best, but the experienced favourites got into big trouble. Dutchman Daniel Willemsen and Etienne Bax, both world champions, got mixed up in a big tangle. But Veldman couldn't enjoy his lead for long because he lost his passenger, Jorrit van den Putten, on lap 1. He took a hard knock in the fall and the crew decided not to continue. Somewhat surprisingly, Frenchman Valentin Giraud and Latvian Elvis Mucenieks took the final qualifier. Q2 and 21 crews left the gate with a flying start by the Belgian and Latvian pair Christophe Santomans and Loris Dieders. Home racers Hermans and Van Harlen took the lead, but a major battle played out in second place between Christophe Santomans and Thomas Chermak. But Koen Hermans and Kenny Van Galen controlled the second qualifier with a huge lead. Holland is a veritable Sidecarcross mecca, so it was no wonder that this year's first World Championships was attended by an amazing amount of fans. And they were anything but bored here. The start in Sidecar Motocross is a decisive moment. The cards are simply dealt here. The number 3 British pair, Stuart Brown and Joe Millard, got off to the best start in race 1, with Santomans and Dieders also enjoying a flyer. The same could not be said of the Vischer brothers. Shortly after the start, Dutchman Etienne Bax and Frenchman Nicolas Mousset took the lead and immediately went in search of points. These two are a newly formed pair this year. That's because Mousset always raced with his cousin Valentin Giraud, but now they're parted. 2015 world champion Etienne Bax then safely controlled the lead. Valentin Giraud had suffered a knee injury in the second half of last season and ended up 9th overall, so no one expected too much. Bax too could not be sure how things would go with Mousset, but the first race was encouraging. Coming in third behind Bax and Giraud was Koen Hermans and Stuart Brown 4th. The start of race 2 in Alderbrook was great for the number 12 Swiss crew Andy Berger and Martin Betchart, but even faster in turn 1 were Brett Wilkinson and Dan Chamberlain carrying the number 7 for Great Britain. But soon Dutch racer Koen Hermans took the lead. Etienne Bax was able to push 2 places ahead and they found themselves in second. Bax and Mousset, however, were not satisfied with this and soon fought their way to the head of the pack. Conversely, Koen Hermans and Kenny Van Galen got into a big mess after crashing and ended up in 8th place. So Etienne Bax and Nicolas Mousset scored double victory after winning race 2 and could not have kicked off the season on a better note. Giraud Mucenieks finished second with Bergler and Betchart third.
Yeah, I'm really happy. I never expected to win 2 races here today. But we showed that we can be quiet and wait for a gap, and we could pass Hermans quite on a nice way, and could finish the races first. And that feels good. It gives confidence for the next races, and yeah, we take the first 50 points. So the red plate for next ride brings some extra pressure, but yeah, I'm really happy. My home GP, many sponsors, many supporters here, and yeah. To win the GP, it's the best feeling there is, I think.
Now it's Eastern Europe, the Ukraine in fact, for round 2 of 14 in this title fight. We're in the Ukrainian city of Chernivtsi, lying at the foothills of the Carpathians, the historical metropolis of the Bukovina region. Chernivtsi is often called the crossroads of cultures. And this beautiful city has hosted world-level Sidecarcross for many decades. The World Championships were here once again this year, and the attendance of the world's best crews attracted a huge amount of fans to the natural grandstand along this pretty track.
10-time world champion Daniel Williams.
And there was plenty going on here to keep them all entertained. The first start of two Ukrainian races went the way of the number 111 Dutchman Daniel Willemsen and Robbie Bax. In second were Belgians Sarders and Cernans, and in third Brown and Millard, but then drama struck as Mousset parted company with the bike in spectacular fashion. Etienne Bax also came off the outfit, and it was a big stroke of luck that neither was seriously injured. Undeterred, the crew carried on. Giro and Muchenieks fought their way from the back after getting off to a lousy start, but Daniel Willemsen and Robbie Bax had a great start and ran a nice clean race. They deservedly won with a 13-second lead. In the last lap, Giro fought his way to second place with Stuart Brown third. This is the race 2 start, which worked out nicely for the number 11 Belgian-Latvian crew Marvin van Lucien and Harold Kurtnieks. Latvians Yanis Didas and Kasper Stupilis, number 75, fought to second, with Daniel Willemsen and Robbie Bax trailing them in third. These two clawed their way towards the lead, but Etienne Bax was able to take over second, presenting a real threat to Willemsen. Valentin Giraud and Elvis Muchenieks rode yet another good race, making it to the podium for the second time. Clear winners of race 2, however, were Etienne Bax and Nicolas Mousset. But it was Daniel Willemsen who became the overall winner of this Ukrainian Grand Prix, and he certainly had a lot of fans here.
The people remember me from the last years, and the fans in Ukraine, they are incredible here. It is so crowded and good, and the fans. And today is my birthday, and we win the Grand Prix. So this is the maximum in feeling what you're gonna have. Yes.
So Daniel Willemsen and Robbie Bax made a really big splash in Ukraine. After 2 rounds of the championships, Bax and Mousset was still ahead in the standings, but Giraud and Muchenieks were only 3 points behind. Finishing third, Brown and Millard, but the season was very young. Round 3 of the World Championships in Sidecar Motocross went to the Czech Republic. In the western part of this country of 10 million people sits the city of Pilsen. The West Bohemian metropolis and its suburbs has over 300,000 residents, and besides its other wonders, one of the best beers in the world. Pilsner Urquell has been brewed here for over 150 years. Roughly 30 minutes ride south of Pilsen is the small community of Kramelin, and one of its attractions is World Sidecarcross. This was the second race in a row run on a hard surface, but the one in Kramelin softened dramatically just before the start of the first qualifier. This time a quality start was all the more important. Etienne Bax was the most successful as he took off from the inside position at the start gate. Kern Hermans, with not much experience on hard surfaces, slotted into third. Etienne Bax and Nicolas Mousset converted their whole shot into a safe lead, and it was clear once again that this Dutch-French crew was in fine form at the start of the new season. Hermans and Van Galen were in second, and Brown Millard alone in third. Etienne Bax and Nicolas Mousset convincingly won Q1, and Belgian Marvin van Lucien showed that he knows how to hit the start just right as he hurtled into the lead in Q2. Soon moving ahead was the 10 times world champion Dutchman Daniel Willemsen with passenger Robbie Bax, and then Giro Mucinex began a relentless attack on Van Lucien-Koertnieks. They made it stick, so Frenchman Giro, number 9, moved ahead into second place. Daniel Willemsen and Robbie Bax easily won the first qualifier by almost half a minute ahead of second place Giro and Mucinex. The start of Sunday's first race for points came out best for Dutchman Etienne Bax, with everyone else keen to spoil the party. Dutchman Daniel Willemsen and Robbie Bax turned in another great performance, but a tough battle was underway for third, where Czechs Thomas and Andrei Cermak came out on top. Willemsen and Bax won race 1 in Kramelin, this pair's second partial victory this year. Etienne Bax came in second, followed by Valentin Giro in third. The best start of the second Kramelin Championship race went to the crew with start number 82, Etienne Bax and Nicolas Mousset. Dropping in behind were Daniel Willemsen and Robbie Bax, with Giro and Elvis Mucinex now in third. But going out with an injury were Dutchman Julian Veldman and Ben van den Boogaard. So Bax and Mousset continued to lead. Willemsen and Robbie Bax were close behind, but they in turn were hounded all the way by Giro and Mucinex. However, with a first and second place finish, the overall winner of the Czech Grand Prix was Etienne Bax.
Everything everything is about the start. If you have, we see it yesterday on the times. It's like with 4 or 5 people in 1 second we're riding. So you cannot make the difference on the track. So the start is the most important. The first race we thought that we had whole shot and we didn't. And second race we had whole shot, and yeah, it's very difficult for somebody to pass us then, and for us the same.
The next leg of this year's title fight took us to France. The 4th round in this year's calendar ran in the south of this lovely country, in Chaumont. The Sidecar Motocross family thus found itself near the city of Annecy, which has its own special and very pleasant lifestyle. And the world's best sidecar crossers came to this lovely spot, bringing no small amount of chaos, but a bit of adrenaline. The qualifying start was won by the Belgian-French pair Dierkens and Rostang, number 19. But also enjoying a great start was a local crew, the Thomas brothers, number 144. But to his dismay, home favourite of the French Grand Prix, Valentin Giro with passenger Elvis Mucinex, had a dreadful start. But Giro dug deep, passing other crews as well as Britain's Stuart Brown, taking the lead to the delight of the home fans. And so it ended with Valentin Giro crossing the finish line to win Q1. Bax and Mousset won the second qualifier, so in other words, the favourites were on the case. Overnight on Saturday, a huge amount of rain fell, completely changing the characteristics of this hillside course. The race 1 start fell to home favourite Valentin Giro to the joy of local fans, but the number 5 Cermak brothers were not so lucky, as you can see here. In the lead were Giro and Mucinex, with Bax and Nicolas Mousset in second, third place belonging to Arne Dierkens and Luc Rostang, the number 19 pair. Daniel Willemsen and Robbie Bax were in fourth, with Hermans and Van Galen holding down fifth. Then Dierkens and Wilkinson collided, resulting in a loss of time for both. But crossing the line of Sunday's first race with ease were Valentin Giro and Elvis Mucinex. The start of race 2 came out best for World Championship leaders Etienne Bax and Nicolas Mousset 82 as they took command of the lead. Jerome Muchenieks had no great start at all. Moving into second behind Bax was Brett Wilkinson, number 7, and into third, the Czech brothers Thomas and Andrei Čermák, starting much better this time. The Thomas brothers were 4th here at home, and first race winner Giro held 5th. The Čermáks tried to defend their place in third with all their might, but ultimately could not fend off the attacks by Giro and Muchenieks, and shortly after, the Dutch crew Willemsen and Robbie Bax also passed the Czech pair. Second in race 1, winners of race 2, such were the results of the crew with WSP chassis and Zabel engine, Etienne Bax and Nicolas Mousset. Jerome Muchenieks did get to within 5 seconds of them, but that was the best they could do. Safely coming in for the second time for 20 points on the bronze were Daniel Willemsen and Robbie Bax, putting them in third in the overall standings. But nobody could catch Etienne Bax and Nicolas Mousset, winners of this French Grand Prix, with Giro and Muchenieks runners-up. Ultimately, 2 Frenchmen made it to the podium. One was driver Giro, and the other was passenger of the other crew, Nicolas Mousset, cousins who rode together exclusively until last year, but now have gone their own separate ways. No hard feelings, eh?
Yeah, I win home GP. I'm really happy. A lot of people for me and for Etienne also. I think it's the best feeling winning home, and yeah, thanks everybody, my sponsors, Etienne also, yeah, everybody, I'm really happy.
A week after being in France, this year's Sidecar Motocross World Championships continued its 5th round in Latvia. The first of 2 Latvian visits came to the racetrack in the city of Kehums, about 50 kilometers from the local metropolis, Riga. We had now switched from a hard to a sandy surface, and that played right into the hands of the Dutch and Belgian crews. The best start of the first qualifier went to the Belgian crew Sanders and Surnens, but already in the first turn, Willemsen and Robbie Bax took command of the lead. This start did not go well for Bax and Mousset, or for home favourites Yannis Didas and Kasper Stupilis. They had to fight their way from the back of the field, which understandably took an awful lot of effort. Willemsen and Bax won Q1, Etienne Bax and Mousset second, and coming in third were Koen Hermans and Kenny Van Galen. All eyes were on the start of Q2, and among the pack were the biggest favourites to win Giro and local man Muchenieks. Also getting off to a good start were Marvin van Lucien and Harold Kerpnieks, but engine trouble stopped the Čermák brothers dead in their tracks. Meanwhile, Giro and Muchenieks were leaving the pack behind, with Lucien and Kerpnieks trailing them in second. But the end of the race was drawing close, and the French-Latvian crew Giro and Muchenieks had clearly dominated. They did surprisingly well once again on sand. Jerome Muchenieks won with a huge lead of around 20 seconds ahead of second place Van Lucien and Kerpnieks, with Brits Brown and Millard in third. Here in Latvia, we saw that starts appeared to be less of a problem for Valentin Giro, because the number 9 shot ahead like a rocket. But right at the start of the race, the order at the top changed. Willemsen and Bax were holding nothing back, and they grabbed the lead from Giro and Muchenieks. These 2 top crews were riding in close contact and started pulling away from the pack. Still in third were Van Lucien and Kerpnieks, followed by Velman and Ben van den Boogaard, with Bax and Mousset rounding out the top 5. But then Bax's bike got hit with a rock switching off the engine. That meant not only a loss of time, but also places. But Bax and Mousset are tough cookies and never give up. They were once again able to fight their way to a decent position for points. They made it to 4th, and to the joy of the local crowd, Didas and Stupilis took 3rd. Daniel Willemsen and Robbie Bax rejoiced in their victory, with Giro and Muchenieks coming in 2nd. The start of race 2 came out best from the inside position for Willemsen, and Etienne Bax was also able to start out fast this time. So the number 1-1 crew were in the lead, slightly ahead of Etienne Bax and Nicolas Mousset, Koen Hermans and Kenny van Galen holding down 3rd. But Willemsen's lead began to shrink, with Etienne Bax breathing down his neck, and at this moment the 10 times world champion lost the lead to the 2015 champion Bax. But in race 1, Bax had come in 4th, so losing the lead didn't worry Willemsen too much, especially when Giro was so far behind, and it was basically only Giro who could steal victory from Willemsen. Koen Hermans and Kenny van Galen rode brilliantly in race 2, taking a well-deserved 3rd place. Thanks to this partial victory, Bax and Mousset kept the lead in the World Championship standings, gaining another 3 points over runners-up Giro, and with Willemsen the overall winner of the Grand Prix in Latvia. Which he was obviously extremely happy about.
This weekend was everything was like it must be, and totally we win the Grand Prix, 1 and the 2nd, a lot of points, and I believe we can be happy. Yes, really.
Etienne Bax increased his lead at the top of the standings to 13 points ahead of Valentin Giraud, and as you can see, Daniel Willemsen in 3rd, edging a little bit closer once again. With 5 rounds down and 9 still to go, the battle was far from over. But now we find ourselves in the north of France in Brittany, and here lies the town of Ifendique. With a population of just fewer than 5,000 steeped in truly great history, Ifendique is also famous for one huge adrenaline sport. The Sidecar Motocross World Championships takes place here every year, and this year was no exception. Etienne Bax lost his post on the leaderboard because of disqualification. But why?
Last week we got a mail from FVN that we are disqualified for the race in Chamonix, France. We were in the lead at 13 points, and if you get this message, it's really a disappointing message. But okay, we need to go on, and the fuel was not good. There was nothing illegal inside, so that was not the problem. The Ron was okay and the Mon was okay. Okay, if somebody can make fuel to make you world champion, it would be a big market for that, but it's not possible. So it's disappointing, but we need to look forward and try to catch back some points this weekend.
As a result of Etienne Bax's points deduction and Willemsen too, Frenchman Valentin Giraud moved into the lead in the World Championship standings. To the joy of the home crowd, the start of the first qualifier was best handled by local hero Giraud, with Latvian passenger Muchenieks. As usual, Belgian Marvin van Lucien, number 11, also started off well and moved in behind the leader Giraud. Willemsen and Robbie Bax got off to a sluggish start and had to fight their way up from way back in the pack. The local rider with Latvian passenger, i.e. Giro Muchenieks, won the first qualifier. Etienne Bax and Nicolas Mousset fought their way to first place in Q2, passing Andy Bergler and Martin Betchart, who had the best start but couldn't hold the top spot for long. Didas and Stupilis also fought past Bergler and Betchart. Yanis Didas had shown in the last race at Kegums that he was getting quicker, and here in France there was absolutely no doubt. But Dutchman Etienne Bax and Frenchman Nicolas Mousset won with a huge 50-second lead. So this is how Saturday's qualifiers ended up, but as we all know, the key day in the world of sidecar motocross is Sunday, because that's when battle commences for points. Once again, the best start in Sunday's race 1 was made by Swiss riders Berger and Betschart, number 12. Behind them came Bax and Mousset, number 82. Favourites Giro and Muchenieks from a bad start found themselves at the end of a group of 10, whilst Hermans and Van Galen had a great start and were now holding second. But Koen Hermans was just behind them and they had to fend off attacks from the speedy Valentin Giro. Giro Muchenieks flew past Hermans and Van Galen, putting themselves into second place. Then tragically, they fell victim to engine failure 2 laps before the end. It was heartbreak indeed for the pair. Etienne Bax and Nicolas Mousset earned the win and 25 championship points, with the other 2 podium spots giving us new names to play with, as Koen Hermans, Kenny Van Galen and Janis Dijders and Kaspar Stupidis stepped up. The start of race 2 in If Indeed went well for the favourites, as Willemsen and Bax took command of the lead. Etienne Bax and Nicolas Mousset moved into second, with Giro and Muchenieks holding down third. But then this happened, which meant a change in the lead. As he headed up the hill, Etienne Bax passed Willemsen, putting himself back in front. Riding close behind Willemsen and Bax was the French-Latvian crew Giro and Muchenieks after a good start this time. Giro Muchenieks then passed Willemsen and Bax to take over second place. But Etienne Bax and Nicolas Mousset handled the track in If Indeed the best of all. They scored 50 points, the maximum possible, and their terrible-looking loss after losing points from Chaumont suddenly didn't seem so bad. Bax won race 2 with a huge lead of 19 seconds over runners-up home favourite Valentin Giro. Willemsen again was third. Valentin Giro came here with a 37-point lead at the head of the table. After France, Giro Muchenieks was still in front, but only by 9 points.
We had a better start, and I think on the third position we passed on the second. And Etienne was faster than us this weekend, so we was not able to come back on him, but second place was good. The goal is to be the most of time on the podium, and without this problem in first seat, we was able to make it this weekend.
Close to the Belgian-Dutch border lies the city of Lommel, a place well known to the world motocross community. Lommel has roughly 30,000 inhabitants, and it's a peaceful city symbolised by windmills and the omnipresent, unbelievably fine sand. And it was here where we witnessed the close of the first half of this year's World Sidecarcross season. Dutchman Daniel Willemsen and Robbie Bax had the best start in Q1, and another Dutch crew, Hermans Van Galen, moved into second place. Third place belonged to home favourite Arne Dierkens with Frenchman Luc Rostang. Jerome Muchenieks had a rotten start after wrecking here, and they had to make up all that lost ground. But Daniel Willemsen gave yet another outstanding performance in his long career, dominating the first qualifier, never letting his fellow countryman Koen Hermans pass him. Etienne Bax and Nicolas Mousset made it to the head of Q2, but Julian Veldman and Ben van den Boogaard were closing right in on them. And they eventually won this qualifier because, unlike Bax and Mousset, they avoided getting caught up with the tail-enders 1 lap adrift. Julian Veldman is the youngest rider in the World Championships, and alongside he has experienced Ben van den Boogaard, Moreover, this combination knows how to handle the sand especially well. Veldman, Van den Boogaard thus made it through to the list of favourites in Sunday's race, which was also filled with some well-recognised faces. The start of Sunday's first race worked well for Daniel Willemsen and Robbie Bax with another hole shot. Minor contact occurred in the first turn between Willemsen and Van Lucien, a fact exploited by Etienne Bax. Bax and Mousset moved into second place with Julian Veldman and Ben van den Boogaard third, but that didn't last long because Etienne Bax got stuck here in a mass collision and Veldman was able to take advantage of this very nicely, thank you. Bax fell to third place and Veldman was suddenly second. But it was Willemsen who raced on without hardship. The 10 times champion took a clear victory, coming in to finish with a comfortable lead with the second place team some 30 seconds behind them. They were Julian Veldman and Ben van den Boogaard, with Etienne Bax being satisfied to take third and 20 World Championship points. The start of race 2 went wonderfully again for Willemsen and Bax from their pole position. They took the lead after a direct battle with Van Lucien and Kurtnieks. Daniel Willemsen was then slowed down during the race by several teams a lap adrift. This completely broke his rhythm. And because Etienne Bax maintained a good pace, it didn't take long for him to attack the lead pair. Before long, Bax and Mousset were in charge. So that was it, job done, as Etienne Bax and Nicolas Mousset came in for another 25 World Championship points. Bax began celebrating well before the finish line with good reason to do so. Giraud crossed the line in 7th place. Etienne Bax retook the lead in the overall standings. Daniel Willemsen and Robbie Bax finished the race in second, which guaranteed them top spot on the podium for this round. Willemsen took home 47 World Championship points. But this race saw a record written in Sidecar Motocross books. No 17-year-old has ever stood on the winner's podium in the World Championships. That is, until this race here in Lommel, in which Julian Veldman won the bronze. So Daniel Willemsen won yet another Grand Prix and admitted he was in the best form for a long time.
We are coming back in 2012. I won the last World Champion title. I had a lot of blessures, problems physically. I broken in 2013, 13 ribs, the shoulder, the collarbone. So I really had a long way coming back. And this year it is managing all technically with Robbie. He's motivating the team, and the results are there. And I can say as the complete team, we are happy. For me, the passenger, the mechanics, and it's going good. And we keep it going on.
And here are the standings after the 7th Grand Prix, marking the middle of the season. Etienne Bax was back in the lead by 6 points over Valentin Giraud. But a further hard 7 rounds were yet to come and nothing had been decided yet. Nestling in the northwestern corner of Bavaria lies Strasbessenbach, a town of 2,000 contented people. And it was here that the second half of the Sidecar Motocross World Championships got underway. Seven more tough Grand Prix awaited the Sidecarcross family, and this series resumed on a hard surface. But the mood was fantastic and everybody was looking forward to the second half of the year. The start to Sunday's first race fell to Etienne Bax, who'd again lined up on the right side. The Dutch-French championship leaders charged ahead, followed by Arne Dierkens and Luc Rostang. Daniel Willemsen and Robbie Bax fought through to third place on lap 1, with Valentin Giraud and Elvis Muchenieks way back in 5th. Willemsen then moved quickly into second place by passing Arne Dierkens. But the order at the top kept changing. First Dierkens fell out of contention, then Daniel Willemsen succumbed to pressure from Valentin Giraud as he lost second place in this turn before the next lap. But way ahead of these crews, the number 82 pair were totally in control out in front. Etienne Bax and Nicolas Musset won Sunday's first race with a 10-second lead. Again, Bax and Musset had the best start in the next 30-minute plus 2 laps race, and this time they were flanked by their great rivals Willemsen Bax and Giraud Muchenieks, but Bax didn't give either crew a single chance. Giraud had no luck at all in Germany. Just when their amazing racing put them in a medal position, their engines started leaking oil. The oil cooler hose gave out and the 4-stroke AMS was bleeding to death. So Giraud had to head for a pit stop to his mechanics, who provided a temporary fix to his special bike. But it was clear that the French racer would lose several valuable points and thus World Championship standing. In direct contrast to this was a thrill of victory felt by the Dutch-French pair Bax and Musset. The World Championship leaders scored the double, bringing them 50 precious points. 1/3 and 1 second place finish were the results of Willemsen and Bax, and a 5th and 3rd handed the bronze to the Czech team of Thomas and André Cermak and their brothers. This was the crew's first trip to the podium this year. The Cermak brothers had problems over the first half of the season, and taking 3rd in this German Grand Prix was a welcome boost for the Czech team.
We are so lucky for the race to make such the best for this season, and we hope for next season to do, or for next season, for the next races and for the rest of the season to make some good result like today.
The gap between first and second place was now 20 points. It was a question as to whether this would put Etienne Bax on his way to the title of world champion, or maybe not. And now we're in Austria, to the city of Bregenz near Lake Constance, which this country shares with Germany and Switzerland. This city of 30,000 lies to the western tip of Austria, and close by is the town of Moggers. And it's here in the hills above Lake Constance where round 9 of the Sidecar Motocross World Championships continued over the weekend. Valentin Giraud and Elvis Muchenieks controlled the first of 2 qualifiers, and Daniel Willemsen and Robbie Bax took the lead after the start of the second. Latvians Didas and Stupilis never finished a qualifier due to technical problems, and the large crowd enjoyed a real fight between Willemsen and Etienne Bax. But here, passenger Musset fell out, and when this crew got back in touch with the leaders, a flying rock knocked out the power supply to Bax's engine. So Daniel Willemsen and Robbie Bax won the second qualifier with ease. Etienne Bax and Nicolas Musset also went through, so all three challengers for this year's title were lined up beside each other on Sunday. Willemsen, Giraud and Bax. This trio had pulled away in the standings from the rest of the world, so the title would be decided between them. Giraud and Mouchenieks had by far the best start to the first heat. Willemsen and Bax fell in behind them in second after the start. Etienne Bax wanted nothing to do with fourth, so he started attacking Van Lucien, but this time it didn't come off. Quite the reverse. They had a fall that cost them at least 5 spots. All alone out there in second were Willemsen and Bax, who had a safe lead over Van Lucien and Koepnieks, but couldn't keep with the pace of the lead crew. So the experienced Willemsen played it cool, saving his strength for race 2 on Sunday. Giraud and Mouchenieks raced to the win and 25 points. Their solid performance on Saturday obviously inspiring them for Sunday. They were a comfortable 30 seconds ahead of the second place finishers. They were Willemsen and Bax, so Willemsen could not yet celebrate a Jubilee double victory in this round, but he had a quality result nonetheless. Willemsen and Bax took the lead this time at the start of race 2, but Etienne Bax and Musset also began well and assumed control after just a few metres. And after a fantastic fight, a dramatic moment came at the very end of the last race. Bax attacked Willemsen's position, but in the next turn collided with his rival and came seriously unstuck. The last lap of the race decided the overall of this Austrian Grand Prix, as Daniel Willemsen and Robbie Bax became the winners. Giraud and Mouchenieks were second, and although they tied on points, the verdict went on the race 2 result. It's written in the rules, in the event of a tie, race 2 decides. 2 third places, those were the results of Etienne Bax and Nicolas Musset, and they lost 7 points from their 20-point lead. The Cermak brothers came home 4th. The second race here in Austria was a real thriller, keeping the spectators on their toes until the very end. The world's best, again, put on an amazing show.
Well, possible. I cannot tell you the feelings. I am really excited that we did it. In the second heat, we were leading, and it was hard. I know Bax and Giraud were pushing to the limit, and but I was thinking I don't let them pass when it's not necessary. So I give it really all, and it was a hard race, and I had some problems with the bike and the brake systems. But we gave it all, and then we win the 200 heats, and yeah, I am really happy, but I'm also really happy for the team, not these mechanics, all the mechanics who worked with me all the years, the sponsors, and yeah, 200 is a lot. I'm happy, yeah.
After 9 rounds run from 14, the gap between first place Bax and second place Giraud was just 13 points, and that's not very much. The Cermak stayed 8th, but their overall points rose dramatically as they climbed the ladder to challenge the men ahead. The next leg of this year's World Championships returned to Latvia. Less than 70 kilometers southeast of Riga lies Stelpa, which hosted this next round. This was the second stage this year in Latvia, this time on a racetrack that truly everyone loves. The complex in Stelpa is owned by Eric Piladzu, who organises races too, and he's a person who's totally into what he does. He alone makes this Latvian race into one of the most popular of the whole season. Here in Stelpa, the pole position is the first slot on the inside, and this was the starting point for Willemsen and Bax. And as you can see, Willemsen took full advantage of it. Cermak brothers moved in behind them into second as Etienne Bax and Nicolas Mousset grabbed third, but then swiftly passed the Czech crew. But then Bax and Mousset had a nasty crash after an uneven landing from a big jump, and it was pure chance that nobody was seriously hurt. Bax carried on, but Willemsen had no such luck as his engine simply died just before the finish line. So Giro Muchenieks took the lead while Willemsen and Bax tried to push their bike over the line just to claim a finish and maybe a few points. Giro Muchenieks scored a perfect 25 and the crew with number 9 could celebrate victory in Sunday's race 1. Bax and Mousset took 22 points for second, which in the light of their collision into the wall along the track was an outstanding result. Koen Hermans and Kenny Van Galen, who were third, were also well pleased, gaining 20 points for their troubles. And cheered on by all the fans, Willemsen and Bax finally pushed their bike across the line. Once again, Daniel Willemsen and Robbie Bax lined up on the far left for race 2. And again this worked out as Willemsen got the whole shot for the third time this weekend. Giro and Koen Hermans were scrapping for second place, while Bax was fighting through from well down to get to the front. And here he passes Thomas Cermak. The race in Stelpa was full of interesting situations and there was always something going on. Here Valentin Giraud lost the lead as he got hung up in this tricky turn, and that wasn't the end of his problems. The Frenchman got stuck again in the same place, and this time a lot worse, with Hermans suffering the same fate. Etienne Bax, however, was able to avoid the mess and moved up 2 spots. By winning race 2, Willemsen and Bax were in good spirits since at least their bike kept going this time out. Daniel Willemsen proved to be a great warrior and he won over totally the Latvian crowd. Etienne Bax was the next to cross the finish line, and brothers Thomas and André Cermak eventually fought to third. The French-Latvian pair of Giro Muchenieks just missed out on winning the Grand Prix overall.
This second race was normally a good race for us. We start on the 4th position, I think. We had good feeling on the track and we quickly take the lead. When we was first, we get I think gap of 6 seconds. Then the speed was good, the feeling was good on track, but we stuck 2 times on a big rut in a sandy corner. I don't know why, and we lose everything.
The next round moved to Estonia. This Baltic country lying furthest north has just over 1.3 million people, and in its northeastern corner lies the region of Ida-Virumaa. It was here in this industrial area that the next saga of this great series unfolded. This was a battle for points in Kivioli, a town known mainly for shale oil extraction. Just like in Stelpa, the sidecar crews love it here in Kivioli, especially the track itself. Valentin Giraud and Elvis Muchenieks shot off like a rocket at the start of the first race as they claimed the whole shot. Daniel Willemsen and Robbie Bax took second here in the first turn, but Etienne Bax and Nicolas Mousset had a dreadful start. They had to fight their way from the back, and this, of course, was physically draining. This time, Bax was not in his best form as he lost ground to his great rivals, but Latvians Daidas and Stupilis were doing very well. Meanwhile, Giro had worked up a huge lead. The WHT rider with the 4-stroke AMS engine dominated as he and his passenger Elvis Muchenieks charged to 25 points and the victory. Giro had won the initial race in the past two Grand Prix, and he did it again here on the track in Kivioli. Willemsen and Bax came in safely for points in second, having settled and conceded defeat. We saw a textbook start once again in race 2 by the number 9 crew Giro and Mucenieks, who won another whole shot and once again took the lead. Unfortunately, British riders Brett Wilkinson and Dan Chamberlain had a very painful crash. So Giro was again in front, and the only one who could keep up with him was Daniel Willemsen. But battles were going on elsewhere, and a good start fell apart for the Cermak brothers. Their bike wasn't giving 100%, and several other teams passed them. Shortly after, there was more drama when the second place team crashed, and that was Willemsen and Bax. Fortunately, there were no injuries, and this Dutch crew only lost a few places. Giro and Mucenieks were really fast on this Kivioli track, and what they've been striving for in every Grand Prix so far came good here. And that was win number 2, thanks to which they took the overall full 50 points to go with it, and this Grand Prix definitely belonged to Giro and Mucenieks. Coming in over in second were Etienne Bax and Nicolas Musset, and they earned the same position in the overall standings. Hermans and Van Galen came in third, with Willemsen and Bax arriving fourth. That meant an overall bronze once all the points were totalled up.
We ran about this 2 victory since some GP already, and this weekend we did it. We won all, we take all best start, and we won all races this weekend, so it was the perfect weekend.
After 11 Grand Prix and 22 races, there was just an 8-point difference between first and second. That's how close it was. So you could be pretty sure that we can expect a real battle into the closing stages with 3 more rounds remaining. The next stop in the circus called Sidecarcross was Switzerland. In the northwest of this alpine country near the French border lies Roggenburg, which hosted the next round of the World Championships. The Swiss Grand Prix was now the 12th stage of 14, and the battle for this year's World Championship title was building very nicely. Dutchman Willemsen and Bax had the best start to the first qualifier. Falling in just behind were Etienne Bax and Nicolas Musset, but this wild fall of the Czech Janasek brothers was on lap 1, and the driver Vit Janasek took a very hard knock. Still leading were Willemsen and Bax, with Bax and Musset not far behind. Brett Wilkinson and Dan Chamberlain were battling for third place, with Arne Dierkins and Luc Rostang. Willemsen maintained his lead, and he never let Etienne Bax past. Brett Wilkinson fought his way to third. Czech brothers Thomas and Andrei Cermak, number 5, had the best start in the second qualifier. They took the whole shot and the lead. The Cermaks have been absolutely flying over the past few weeks, and that put them back in the fight for 4th overall in the title chase. But Thomas Cermak could not match the speed of Giro this time, as you can see here in the second qualifier. All the Cermaks could do was follow Giro and hope they could learn. And as expected, Giro won Q2 with ease. Grand Prix in Roggenburg has a long tradition and a lovely atmosphere, which everyone could see in the opening ceremony. There were 44 teams entered here, so the fans had plenty to look at. Now we're on board with the Cermak brothers for the start of the first race on Sunday. Bax and Lucien came into contact in the first turn, with the latter ending up falling. The Chermak brothers led, Giro Machenieks was second, Hermans van Galen third, Wilkinson Chamberlain fourth, and both Bax, Mousset and Willemsen Bax found themselves way down the order. The French brothers Barra also had a bad fall but kept going. The Chermak brothers dropped back down the order as Willemsen and Bax passed them. Meanwhile, Giro forged a safe lead for himself, having hit a winning streak in this last phase of the season. Etienne Bax and Nicolas Mousset were in second despite being the leaders in the standings. Their lead was shrinking with every race. This race was stopped early and Giro took the win. Daniel Willemsen was taking no chances for race 2 and set up on the extreme left with Giro right alongside. Giro struggled off the line, but not so Daniel Willemsen. Joy turned to pressure as Valentin Giro began charging hard to pass Willemsen. The Frenchman did all he could to get past and succeeded a few times, but each time Willemsen was able to return the favour and grab the lead back. Local favourite Andy Bergler was urged on by the home crowd, and maybe that helped him retake second place from Valentin Giro. Once again, we saw the very best from Sidecarcross and practically nothing was missing. And then a huge battle for second erupted between Valentin Giro and Etienne Bax. Bax was really hungry and didn't wait long to get his attack underway. So his fans could begin to celebrate because Bax and Mousset were able to get past their biggest rival in the battle for the title. But that was not enough for the star men in the title chase, because at that moment they caught up with the leaders, Daniel Willemsen and Robbie Bax. Before the eyes of the happy fans, another fantastic scrap took place, with this fight all about overall victory at the Swiss Grand Prix. More bad luck struck Valentin Giro in third till then, whose bike let him down again for the umpteenth time this year. This happened just 2 laps before the finish, and the impact on the points probably the key moment of the whole season. Etienne Bax and Nicolas Mousset finished to take the 25 points, while Giro Machenieks came away with 0 in race 2.
Yes, overall we won the GP, and I'm very happy with this because I'm struggling in my mind already a couple of weeks, and yeah, to finish this 3 GP with the win, it's a good feeling and it gives confidence for the next races. And yeah, hopefully we can do some good things in the last 2 GPs in Germany and Holland. So yeah, you know, we have the dream to be a world champion. And okay, we have nothing won so far. Everything can happen still. But we have confidence, and hopefully we can make it happen at the end of the season. We work hard, and like everybody, but you know, we really want this.
And now we're back in Germany, where the penultimate round of this year's World Championship got underway. It took place in the southwestern corner of Germany, the capital city being Stuttgart. Around 40 kilometers from Stuttgart lies the town of Rudelsburg, and the outskirts, among other motorsports, has been a home to World Sidecarcross. Dutchman Gert van Verwen and Siebe van der Putten left the start gate quickest. Their lead only lasted briefly because their bikes soon stopped dead. The same happened to Arne Dierkens and Luke Rostang. With a lead of over 8 seconds, Etienne Bax and Nicolas Mousset won the race, and along with them, 11 more crews went through to Sunday. Dutchman Kern Hermans and Kenny van Galen started best in Q2 as they got the whole shot in turn 1 and rode to the head of the pack. Belgians Davy Sanders and Edward Cernens, number 29, took second, followed by the qualifying favourites Giro Machenieks. Belgian Van Lucien was having technical issues, but Giro fought his way to the lead and easily won Q2 as the biggest favourite. This German Grand Prix is not too popular with the riders, but what nobody can deny is the interest of the spectators. Parties in the tent here are legendary, believe me. Here in Rudelsburg, the start is crucial, and in race 1, Etienne Bax and Nicolas Mousset got off to the best start of all, so they took the lead, followed by Stuart Brown and Joe Millard. But this didn't last long because they were soon passed by Willemsen and Bax. The pair Hermans van Galen had mechanical problems, much to their disgust. A huge battle broke out between more Dutchmen, namely Daniel Willemsen and Julian Veldman. Willemsen attacked his younger countryman quite hard, and it ended up with this off-track excursion. But just after the race, the experienced veteran Willemsen came up and apologised for the move. Sidecarcrossers are tough men, but they also know how to be polite. And in this sport, it's a fact that nobody plays unfairly. Etienne Bax and Nicolas Mousset convincingly won race 1 on Sunday in Rudelsburg, thus taking another step towards winning this year's championships. Everyone expected that on a hard surface, Giro would be a bigger challenge to Bax than he actually was. The Dutch sidecar crosser dominated, and Latvians Didas in Stupilis ended up second. The start to race 2 on Sunday went to Koen Hermans of Kenny van Galen as the number 8 crew took the whole shot and the lead. But also starting out well were Van Lucien and Schneider, leaving the superstars well behind them. Again, technical issues haunted Gert van Verven, and meanwhile a direct battle for victory broke out between Hermans and Etienne Bax. As you can see, Bax prevailed and went on to take the win. Young Julian Veldman was the next to break down. But the Dutch-French pair Bax and Mousset handled the race best and headed for yet another victory, and not even Giro could do anything about it. He tried everything, but he simply wasn't capable of riding a faster lap. Etienne Bax thus headed for overall victory, his 8th of the season. This fast man was never beaten in Germany this year. He won in Straßbessenbach and here in Rudelsburg, as he took what is very likely a decisive step towards the title of Sidecar Motocross World Champion. His 30-point lead grew in this race to 38, so Giro slowly but surely could begin to wave goodbye to a fading vision of this year's title. Bax Mousset thus left Germany as satisfied as possible.
Yeah, the second race was super good, and the weather was good again. And yeah, again a good weekend with the team, and I'm happy. 50 points, and yeah, ready for the World Champion.
In the closing round of this season, just a few days later in Markelo, Holland, Bax just needed a ride in race 1 to score points and the title would be his. But a fierce battle for 4th was on the cards between no fewer than 4 crews. This year's last round of the World Championships was run in Holland, in the west of this country, where the town of Markelo lies. Over 7,000 local folk live a peaceful life here, and a friendly atmosphere prevails. And beside that, this was where the new world champion could be crowned. Daniel Willemsen and Robbie Bax jumped into the lead after the start, followed by Etienne Bax and Nicolas Mousset. Holding third was another local team, Koen Hermans and Kenny van Galen, but nobody could catch Daniel Willemsen. Not even Etienne Bax, who made a minor mistake here in his effort to close the gap. Willemsen and Bax easily won the qualifier, thus claiming another pole position for Sunday's race. Jiro Muchenieks had the best start in Q2. Julian Veldman and Ben van den Boogaard fell in behind them, and soon this team fought its way into the lead. Brits, Brown and Millard fought like lions here in Holland in their effort to retain fourth place overall. Three other crews were itching for the same post. Young Julian Veldman was the clear winner of the qualifier. So those were Saturday's highlights in Markelo. The evening saw the opening ceremony and presentation of the crews, where there was great support from the home Sidecarcross fans. Etienne Bax and Nicolas Mousset had the title of world champions within their reach. All they needed in Sunday's first race was a few points and they could start celebrating the title, but they started out leading. But moments later, Bax's fans groaned because the champion designate raised his hand, signalling that he'd got some technical problem. Bax and Mousset had to come in for a pit stop and waited nervously. The key question was, where would Giro and Muchenieks finish? Willemsen and Bax won, and they still had a slim chance of winning the title of world champion runners-up, because Giro Muchenieks, currently second, did not have a good first race. And in the very last lap, the Cermak brothers passed Giro, and that was the moment that decided Etienne Bax and Nicolas Mousset would become this year's world champions. Willemsen and Bax took the checkered flag with plenty of time to spare. So we just saw the twists and turns of Sidecarcross. Julian Veldman and Ben van den Boogaard were running second as they neared their second podium finish of the year. Also scoring good points were the fighting Brits, Brown and Millard, who fended off a pack of crews trying to finish fourth in this year's overall standings. Valentin Giraud was suffering technical problems. And that's the reason the battle for this year's title was decided. After the first of two races, the team of Bax and Mousset could begin to celebrate. Etienne Bax fought to win his second title of world champion, while Nicolas Mousset became the first Frenchman in history to ever claim that honour. So race 2 was calmer than the first one because the question of champion was decided, but who would be second, third and fourth? Those questions are still open. Willemsen and Bax moved out in front from the start, and the new world champions Bax and Mousset were right with them in second. After a decent start, Giro and Muchenieks again fell back, just as Stuart Brown and Joe Millard were moving up, as were fellow Brits Wilkinson and Chamberlain. Bikes with the sidecars on the left could use the track better in broken sand, so both British crews filled their boots. All hopes of gaining fourth were dashed for the Cermak brothers, whose engine broke just before the finish as they dropped to seventh in the final standings. Not even the double victory of Willemsen and Bax could bring them to second place in the table, so these two warriors ended up third overall. Etienne Bax and Nicolas Mousset were runners-up in the last race of the season. The final Grand Prix didn't quite work out as they planned, but this did not take away the glory of world champions. Bax and Mousset definitely deserve the title of best sidecar crossers of 2017. They took the lead of the World Championships in race 1 of the year, and had they not been disqualified in France, they would always have been in control. So the title of World Champions lies in the right hands.
Till this moment it was very busy here, so I did not have time to think about it, but it will come later in the evening, and we need to celebrate this and look forward. I'm really happy, and we had a good season, a long season. Ups and downs, but we made it. So the first world title feels very special, but it was in France. This one is the second one for me, but this in Holland. So actually the feeling is the same. Just it is different circumstances. There was rain, here is sun. It's also different, and to take the world title in your home country, it's a best race, I think.
This is how the final order of this year's World Championships ended up after the running of 14 Grand Prix and 28 races. Etienne Bax ultimately won with a huge lead. And here are the second 6 in the standings, forming the absolute elite of this sport. The 2017 season of the Sidecar Motocross World Championships is now history, and 14 Grand Prix run has clearly shown what a high sporting level these championships are at. Sidecar crossers are hard yet fair men who do amazing deeds on these tracks. As for our WSC team, it was an honour and a great joy to live the whole season and document it, and we simply cannot wait for next year. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon with more World Sidecar Motocross.